Awesome. Thank you so much, Michael. Let me go ahead and do that. Bear with me for one quick second. Hopefully I don't screw this up royally. So let's give this a shot. Okay. Are you seeing the presentation screen? Or are you seeing my...
Yes, we see the presentation screen.
Okay.
No, actually we see
the back end.
The back side, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's fix that. Maybe. Okay. Zoom. Window. There we go. Stop share. All right. We will get this fixed. Hold on just a second.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Okay. Share screen. We want this guy. Okay. How's that?
Perfect.
Beautiful. And is my audio okay? Can everybody hear okay?
I can.
Okay, great. Well, I do have a Marine Corps background, so I can yell very loud if I need to, but I try not to. So first of all, I just want to welcome everybody here. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to join in on this talk. If you wouldn't mind, I would love to just know what industries and like what kinds of businesses you guys are running or are a part of. That will just help me for context later on in the presentation. I want this to be as much value add to you as humanly possible. And so it does no good for me to start jabbering on about a particular industry when nobody in the room is involved in that particular industry. So please feel free. And if you have any questions, I absolutely want to get around to questions towards the end and answer specific contextual questions for you and your business. That's very important to me. So you've seen enough of my mugshot on the main screen. I would love to connect with each and every one of you on social media. You can pick your poison, pick one, pick all. I would love that. So very quickly about me before we dive in. So as Michael so graciously pointed out, I am a Marine veteran. I'm an entrepreneur. I've been in the business world now for a number of years, but I particularly just enjoy solving business problems. It's a passion of mine, and particularly on the digital front. So all things marketing, all the crazy dumb details, all the way down to like the big brainiac strategy stuff. So it's a passion of mine. I love people, and I love helping people. So that's enough about me. I get a little embarrassed when I talk about myself sometimes. So I want to jump right into this. So what can you expect from our time together today? So it's going to be truth. It's going to be 100% from the heart. It's going to be very practical. And I want it to be as impactful to you as possible. We're going to talk about the difference between branding and marketing. They sound similar, but they're very different things. 3 winning mindsets that you absolutely need to have. 3 tactical level solutions, and 3 things that you can start doing literally right now that could make a tremendous difference. So branding, what the heck is branding? So branding is who you are at its roots. So it is the feel, it is the reputation, it is all these ideas blended into one thing that represents your brand. So when you think of a brand, it often, like the best brands, will evoke some type of emotional response, and that's sometimes a negative response, right? So we may have had experiences with certain companies, certain brands, and we actually have a bad taste in our mouth. It's, well, that's part of their brand. That's part of their brand, whether they like it or not. That's actually part of the brand. We obviously want our brand to be positive, but branding is the strategy. It's the high level. It's the feel. It is your reputation beyond all things. Marketing is actually how you do it, how you build awareness, the tactics and techniques of the things that you do to further your brand and to build awareness and to get more people to pay attention to you. Branding is not, and this is huge, guys, like branding is not transactional. It is your like lifelong reputation for that business or for you personally. If you're busy building your personal brand, and I hope you are. Sales is transactional. Sales, as we all know, it's very simple. here and there. So sorry, I'm just reading a couple comments as we're getting going here, just so I can stay going here. So we got Apple, we got Google. If you notice, both of those brands don't do a whole lot of advertising direct to you. They do a little bit, and I know they're tech companies, but there are any other number of companies around the Metroplex that you could pick on, or any other national brands that you could think of that, you know, it's got a feel, right? So like Apple, if you ever go into an Apple store, it's got a feel. There's a vibe, there's a culture, there's like this cool guy, techie type feel. Google has its own little thing going on, and then there's any number of other brands out there. But I just want to give you just a quick idea of what that would feel like. Let's see. So let's get into, this is not advanced. Here we go. So we have 3 game-winning mindsets, and I start here because I'm not going to sit here and blab on about search engine optimization, how to run Facebook ads, how to do Google, how to do all these other things. They are important. That's the business that I'm in, and doing those well. But you have to start at the mindset. You have to start with a perspective that may be what you are today, or it may be different. It may need a slight mindset adjustment. Some of this is going to be probably very obvious to you, but it is worth visiting and spending a couple minutes on, because if you can get these mindsets ingrained into you, into what you're doing in your business, it will unlock more in you, more in your business, more in your employees, your coworkers, your customers. So number 1, compassion. It is a mindset. It's not a checkbox. And I love looking at the definition of a word from time to time. And I think I drive my wife nuts sometimes when I do this, but I'll stop everything I'm doing. And if there's a word that I'm just thinking about, or we're talking about, I will go look it up, because I want to see, like, what is the actual definition of this word? So compassion, and you can read it for yourself. But I mean, many of you probably, I mean, you can feel free to chat this in if you'd like to, but there's a lot of folks that are hurting. They're suffering in the midst of this COVID-19 pandemic. And it's absolute tragedy. There are some businesses that have been minimally impacted. And so, but regardless, it takes compassion. So it takes a compassionate heart to really show concern and to show regard for somebody. It's something it's something worth not overlooking. The next one is empathy. And I love this picture, because this is like the best way of describing it. So whereas like compassion and sympathy, we can understand how someone's feeling or why they're feeling it. It's more like acknowledging the way that you feel. You're recognizing the way that somebody feels. But empathy draws on your emotional experience. You may have had a very similar, the exact same situation occur to you, and you can relate to somebody on an emotional level. And I actually put this I just grabbed this chart just so you could see it. For people like me, I like pictures, so this helps me to understand. But you experience the feelings of somebody else because of what they have gone through in their life, or what they're having to endure. So for a lot of us, we may have sympathy, we may have empathy for the current environment that we're in. Like, businesses are suffering, businesses are shut down, some are slowly coming back to life. Thank God we're starting to kind of come out of this slowly, but we are absolutely coming out of it. But let's distill this idea down to one word, one mindset, one idea that you can always remember, that you can just take with you everywhere you go in your business, whether it's your family, whether it's your business, whether it's your customers, whatever that may be. Simply put, it's care. That is the win, my friends, not just for business, but in life. And it's not fake. It's not halfway. It's not this pretending so that I can get what I want out of this whole transactional deal. No, you really, truly have to care. And so, like, from my heart to yours, like, I am sincerely sorry for those of you that are enduring hardship during this time. I know it's not easy. I mean, I don't have enough fingers and toes to count the amount of people that I know personally that have been negatively impacted by this, whether it's health in the family, or whether it's employment, or the business impact. And so we're all in this together. And And I just want to acknowledge that as we go. But the crux of it though is care about what they need, what your customers need, not about what you want. I'll say it one more time because I read this quote somewhere or I heard it, and I absolutely love it. It's care about what they need and not what you want. And in the process of doing so, you will eventually get what it is that you want. So 3 tactics. We're going to talk about 3 specific tactics that you can implement right now in building brand. But I want to be very clear. Building brand, no matter what you do, if you have a sucky product, poor customer service, disregard for your customers, the product or service doesn't work, you can't build your brand. Your brand is going to torpedo and like dig itself into the ground. Brand is built primarily by product or service satisfaction and the execution of that product or service. Those 2 things put together are what actually build the brand. So you can go back and think about the example that I talked about a minute ago about Apple, right? So Apple, product satisfaction and the execution, meaning the way that they actually deliver that product. And again, you could do this for any number of brands, any number of situations, and jump into that way. But so with that being said, let's get into 3 tactics. So number 1, creativity and innovation. They sound similar, but they're actually 2 different ideas. So creativity is the idea. It is coming up with a solution to a problem. Like you've seen a lot of restaurants, right, start to do curbside pickup, delivery, and these are businesses that had never done that until a month ago. They jumped in, they're getting creative. And then the innovation piece of that is the implementation. So I have the idea of how I want to solve a problem, but how I actually implement it and execute, that is the innovative part of that. So I would encourage you to take a look at your business, and let me look at the chat. And if you haven't told me already what kind of business you're in, please do so. And then also, if you have any questions, go ahead and start dropping questions in so that we can get to them here at the end. Let's see, so we got merchant processing, car care, let's see, legal subscription services, worship pastor, IT, dance studio. Very cool. So identifying solutions, datatronic controls, digital LED. Okay, cool. So thinking of ways that you can reach your customers and build your brand in the middle of this, and it comes through having a solutions-based approach to what you're doing. So you have to solve the pain, solve whatever the issue is for your customer first. And I would be curious if you can relate to me in this, but there have been times when you'll go in and you want to speak with a client or a customer about a certain issue that they're having, and you've got like the whole turnkey solution from A to Z. And you know what? They are just obsessed about you solving C for them. That's really all they need, and that's all they really need to hear from you right now. They don't need to know how you do A through Z so beautifully well and you're the best. They need C taken care of. And so to remember that, you have to solve the pain, identify what the need is that your customer has and what they're expressing, and address that need first. And then once you've addressed that need and addressed that pain, then that may lend itself to a greater overall conversation from A to Z about whatever other things that they may have. And value add. And once again, this may sound obvious, but we want to deliver above what people are expecting to get. Like you want, and that's part of what the experience is, right? So, I mean, how many of you stayed at like a really nice hotel? Back in the day, I would travel for work. I mean, I still travel actually, but I'd gotten booked into a nice hotel. It was a hotel I would probably never otherwise book on my own. But their customer service, the experience from the minute I literally pulled up in the taxi to the time that I was leaving to go to the airport 2 days later, it was flawless. The check-in was flawless. Getting out of the car was amazing. People were friendly. I got up to my room. Everything was just laid out a certain way. I go out to go to dinner. I come back and my room is changed and transformed while I was gone. Almost creeped me out a little bit, but pretty dang cool. And then just being very attentive to my needs. But I left that having undergone an experience with that brand. And that's left an impression on me to this day. That was probably from at least 7 years ago. And it's just an example of how the experience is what builds that brand. Just like I talked just a second ago, that product satisfaction, the execution is what builds that brand. And that's what I left there feeling, this emotional attachment to a hotel. How crazy is that, right? Like you leave and it's like you feel like you're saying goodbye to like some long lost friend of yours. As funny as that sounds, but that's a huge win. And I know it's maybe a macro example, but I would encourage you to think of ways that you could overlay that onto your own business. So one way that we bring it all together, and this is a slight rabbit trail before I get to the final 3 items. But I am the branding guy. I am the social media guy, but it really does come down to getting attention. So how do we bring it all together? Think of your life as either a documentary or a movie. And what I mean by that is, in your business, are you documenting your business, or are you producing content? Are you producing things that that have like this well thought out script, and you have like a end goal in mind when you're documenting it? I would encourage you, think of your business, think of your journey as a documentary. And I cannot, like, if I could jump up and down right here, I absolutely would. But you want to document your journey. And what I mean by that is get on camera, put yourself on camera. If you're not very comfortable on camera, write, but you need to touch your customers right now. Like you need to be able to get in front of your customers right now. And for a lot of us, we can't do that. So how else can we do that? Well, you can touch them on the digital landscape. So you can engage with them. So if you have your social media identities built out on all the different channels, engage your customers there. Share with them the story of your business. Share with them your passion for dance. Share with them why you love what it is that you do. What a privilege it is to be able to serve people in the dance studio. I'm picking on you, Carol, for just a second. So you have this dance studio. You have a passion for dance, but it probably goes deeper than that. Carol probably has a deeper satisfaction, a deeper connection to dance than any one of us here today. But I would encourage you to share that story about, okay, like why did you get into dance? A little bit about your background. Why did you open up a studio? Why did you choose the color paint on the wall? Why did you choose to set your classes up the way that you do? I mean, you could go on and on and on. I'm looking at somebody else here. So let's pick on my MSP brothers. I used to be in the MSP space. Now I just do boutique IT consulting. But the same thing, guys, on the MSP side of things. Help them understand like why you do what it is you do. Like talk a little bit about your passion for IT. Talk about a little bit about your passion for computer networks. Educate your customers, and they may or may not care right now, but start generating some content about like, you know what, this is how we set up a home router, right? Like right now, here's some ways that you can secure your home network. I know we care a lot about our corporate networks, but a lot of us are working from home. What are the default, go into a whole spiel about, default passwords, SSID broadcasting, just a lot of little simple things you could do to bring value to people. That it's personal, it's applicable to them, but you're able to document your journey. And so I could go on, I could probably give examples for everybody here, but I hope that's helpful in some way. And it sucks because I can't see any of your faces. Everybody is on, I guess you're just watching me. So like drop a comment or say something to let me know that you're still alive, because this is almost eerie to me. So on the media production side of things. So thinking of your business, thinking of your journey as a documentary, the best way to do that is to document via pillar content. And what I mean by that is take long form video. So once again, I'll go back to Carol. She shoots maybe a 30-minute video giving a tour of her dance studio. Maybe it's a 20-minute little interview. Maybe you set up your phone or your laptop on a tripod or prop it up against a book or something up in the corner of your studio so you can see the studio behind you as like a nice backdrop, and talk about why you love it, what it is that you do, and just go as long as your heart is open. And that may be 20, 30, 40 minutes. But then guess what you have? You have an unbelievable amount of content that you can then repurpose. And again, I get really excited about this stuff because this is exactly what my company does. So we love to do all the post-production work. So I get really excited. So you take that and you repurpose it into micro content. So you're creating short form pieces that may be graphics, like a really cool quote. It could be just a text only quote. Get the video, get the audio portion of it parsed out and extracted, maybe throw it into a podcast, transcribe the audio portion. And there may be like a really cool nugget that you say in there. Like I'll pick on Genevieve, for example. Like there may be something that you're explaining about LEDs. And there may be something in there that's just really cool. Pull that little text bite out, and you can throw that across all social media. It has to be contextual to the platform. So realizing that everybody in the room has different levels of comfort with social media, but just because something works or goes well on LinkedIn doesn't mean it's going to work well on Instagram or Twitter and so on. So we have to be thoughtful, a little bit strategic of how we distribute that content, which is the next point. So you want to distribute it properly to each channel, contextual to that channel. So the way that you may speak may be slightly different depending on what the channel is. And again, I could talk your ear off about this literally for days. If you want more info, just contact me and I can continue to talk on and on. But the most important part of this whole thing, guys, is to listen. Listen. So you explain your journey, you explain why it is that you do what you do. You make it a story. You're simply telling a story about why it is you do what you do, why you love it, the passion that you have behind it, and then you can even go into specific segments of how to do something. So it could be an instructional video on a dance technique. It could be an instructional thing, like I mentioned a few minutes ago about the IT space, doing that. I'm trying to quickly see what other verticals we're talking about here. Legal subscription services that provides access to law firms. Okay, Dana, I don't know exactly what that may look like. So I'm assuming that's like a SaaS product. So maybe taking a look at that and seeing how, like, the journey behind that product and what that means in terms of impact to people, and why was that idea even thought of? Like what made that so awesome? But we want to listen, guys. That's the biggest thing. We will like what I'm doing right now, right? I'm talking a ton. I'm eventually going to get to the point where we're going to have a little bit of dialogue. But on social media, you have to be just as much a listener as you are a content producer, as someone who's documenting things. You want to listen primarily because you want to understand what is connecting with your audience. What is actually resonating? There may be ideas and things that you think are awesome, and they probably are awesome, but your audience doesn't think so. There's maybe this other piece of content that you produce that you're like, nobody's gonna give a crap about that. Like, who really cares? But whatever, I'll throw it up there anyway. And then that's the one that ends up getting like all the attention, all the comments and shares and so on. You got to engage it. You have to keep that in mind. It's worth taking a look at, because if you see that your customer or your fan base or whatever the case may be is engaging with a certain avenue of what you're doing, it may be worth taking a look at either from a content standpoint or from your business to understand, you know what, I'm sensing like there's a need for this. Like the community that I'm building is really engaging in this particular way, like consistently over time. I'm seeing more and more over here. You may want to think about what you're doing about that. If that's an area of your business that is really like underserved, it may be something worth considering. Again, situation dictates what it is for you, but again, it's worth thinking about. And then engage, guys. Respond to every single comment. If anybody took the time to reply to a post that you put on social media, and wherever it is, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, take the time to write them back. Don't just like it and write something meaningful back. And again, this is probably a whole nother talk and another discussion that I would love to talk with you about like continuing to like insert yourself into conversations that are relevant to you. So for like, I'm trying to think of a good example. I can't think of a good example, so I'd rather not sit here and bumble along trying to make a good example. So I'm just going to move on. So 3 things that you can do today. Call your clients. Check in on them. Every one of you has a database of your customers, and that may be at your QuickBooks POS system. It may be your email marketing list. It may be whatever, but somewhere you have a database of your customers. For some of you, this may be more challenging than others. You may have thousands of people to call. For some of you, this may be a lot easier. You may have just a few dozen people to call, just depending on your type of business. But call your people and check on them. I mean, I hate to say text because a lot of people don't like texting. You can't get the emotion. I'm sure you got stories just like I do of I've gotten in trouble with my wife before and she's got trouble with me because you can't really tell what the emotion behind a text. That's why we put all the emojis in there and we try to like fluff it up so that people understand the emotional intent behind your tone. Because tone of voice is everything. That's why connecting with somebody over the phone, voice to voice, can really make a huge difference. Worst case scenario, text them. Even worst case scenario, email them. But absolutely do everything you can to get in touch with your client base and literally just check on them. No strings attached, no selling, no ulterior motive, just care. Just reach out and say, hey, how's your family doing? How's your kids? Like how's everybody faring through this whole ordeal? You doing okay? And I mean, it may open up a can of worms for a very long discussion about something that they're suffering through right now, or something very challenging that they're dealing with in their family. Don't sell, just simply care for people. That emotional connection that you build with them, that thoughtfulness that you showed to engage with them is going to speak volumes about your character, about the fact that you cared enough about them to think of them, to reach out and say, hey, I've appreciated your business. I've appreciated working with you. But right now, I just want to check on you. Like, how the heck are you doing? And to be personal and let the chips fall where they may at that point. And invest in yourself and in your business. So like right now is the perfect opportunity to take a look at, how are we doing in our business processes? What are we doing in terms of a staff? Taking a look at that org chart, dusting it off, seeing like, are there ways to optimize? A lot of you've probably had to furlough people. And so your org chart is looking flatter and flatter, and you're trying to understand like what's that going to look like when you come back. And so it's a great opportunity to invest in yourself. I'm going to tell you, just because this is what I do, but I really believe what I'm saying. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now. But invest in your brand, invest in your public-facing persona. So whether it is your physical building, like make sure your building is clean, it's up to date, it looks nice. Like I can't help you with that one. I mean, I could probably hire some dudes to come over and help you, but take that same analogy, right, and apply it to the digital landscape. Like, what does your website look like? What do your social media channels look like? Do your customers have the same feel and the same experience with you when they walk through the door or when they are on your website as they are when they're on your Facebook, whether on your LinkedIn, wherever they may interact with you, your email marketing? Does everything have the same kind of look and feel? Because I'm telling you, that reinforces your brand, that enforces a level of professionalism and competence. People are subconsciously evaluating you on that they won't ever tell you that. And you know it because you do it too, right? So you pass a business that looks decrepit and run down, you're like, I'm not sure if you guys are going to be here tomorrow. Same thing, like when you go and you see a website that has a copyright of 1997, or it hasn't been updated, it looks like it was done on Windows 97. Like that's a bit of a problem. Let me see here. So what else? So the landscape is going to be very noisy. And in fact, I'm already seeing it kind of getting noisier just because people don't have anything else to do. But now is the perfect time to double down on content creation, on all your marketing efforts. I really do equate it. It's like the stock market. You want to buy low, sell high. So right now is the best time that you're going to have to do the things I told you about earlier, which is documenting your journey. Like like literally think of yourself as like you're on a documentary that just never ends, and get comfortable on the camera. People love to see you. They even the weird, quirky things about your personality, the things that you think are dumb or weird or whatever, people love that. People want to see little bits of your personality. They don't want to just see, hey, I'm Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so, and this is what I do. They want to get to know you. I mean, you guys can look at the wall behind me. Like there's things on that wall that show you bits of my personality, that show you bits of like who I am. I'm not just a website designer, marketing strategist, Facebook ads, and all this other crap. Like I actually have a real life too. And so these are ways that you can really connect with people. So double down on your content creation, tell your story, and I promise you it's going to make the difference. You may not see the immediate impact next week, but I promise you, if you stay consistent, persistent, and diligent with everything that you're working on, it will pay off 6 months from now, 9 months from now. And I know a lot of you probably don't want to hear that, but the brand building game, there are no shortcuts. It is hard work. It is diligent. It is the one-on-one interactions on social media. It's the direct messaging over Instagram. It's the messaging over LinkedIn. And for God's sakes, please quit selling people on LinkedIn on your introductory note. Get to know people first, build that network, and invest in relationships. Again, I could literally go on for forever. Please, please, please understand that marketing is a necessity. It's not a luxury. And that's important to grasp. Even at the small business level, it is important, whether you're doing it yourself, whether you're hiring somebody to help you with it, it doesn't matter, but understand that it is a necessity. Competition is doing it. And a great example of this, and this, I may step on a couple toes here. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry, kind of at the same time. So you've seen businesses get very creative at coming up with new solutions in this time on how they interact with their customers. And you've also seen other companies decide to kind of take a break, and they're like, okay, we're going to kind of dip our toe in the water on, like, I'll just pick on the curbside delivery thing because it's the easiest thing that we can all relate to, right? So some restaurants and businesses are deciding to go all in on it. Like they're doing Grubhub, and they're doing Uber Eats, they're doing the delivery themselves, they're doing curbside pickup. They're innovating like they're just getting super creative and making it happen. And they would have never done that 60 days ago. There's other companies that are kind of doing it kind of halfway, and they're just kind of waiting for it to all go back to normal. And I'm here to tell you that we're not going back to that normal. We're going to go back where we are today and where we were. We're going to end up meeting somewhere in that middle ground. And so for the companies that have embraced this change, they are absolutely going to come out winning. And the companies that decided not to embrace the change and just to kind of wait it out, they're going to find themselves a couple steps behind the rest. It's not impossible, but you're going to be a couple steps behind. Build your brand at all times. Think of what makes you you. Tell the story of you for the personal branding aspect, but also tell the story of your company. I'm telling you, people love a story. They love to hear about, like, oh, this is why I picked up this desk. This is why I got into this business. Oh, you know what? This is my biggest screw up that I made. Like, this is how I pissed off one of my best customers. Oh, and guess what? We're still friends to this day. Like, tell those stories. Those stories need to be told. They make you personable. They make you attractive. There may be something about you that I see in a random LinkedIn post of yours, and you talk about the Las Vegas Raiders, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna reach out to him. I'm gonna reach out to her, strictly because we have something in common. So just remember that. So that is enough of me. I have spoken now for a little over 30 minutes. How can I help you? What's your biggest needs? Would love to chat with you.
Because you're too tired.
Okay, I've unmuted everybody. So if you guys have comments or questions, Aaron, I will say there's a lot of feedback in the chat. If you want to look through that, there's some good comments there. Agreeing with you and adding some thoughts. And there's a question here. What are your thoughts about podcasting?
Oh, yes. Okay. And yeah, and if you wouldn't mind, if you don't have a question, go ahead and just mute yourself. That way we don't get in this crazy little feedback loop that I'm sure you all have experienced at least once. Podcasting is freaking awesome. So that is, in fact, I believe in it so much that I do it, right? So I actually have a podcast. It's called the Veterans Business Podcast. It's a podcast for military veterans that are in business. And so I invite guests on the show. We talk about business. We talk about their interests. We talk about all sorts of stuff. And that alone, that helps build my personal brand. Because people are now associating me with that kind of thing. And so it's already opened up some really cool doors. So I could not be any more bullish on podcasting. If you can do the video format, I would absolutely go video, because guess what? You just now created more pillar content. So my season 1 of the Veterans Business Podcast was audio only. I was probably, to be fully transparent, with a little bit of self-esteem issues, with just being on camera, getting comfortable with that, with different guests. And I wanted to really reach and get some really cool guests. And I thought audio only was a great way of keeping it kind of safe. It would improve my close ratio. I will be doing video format starting actually in about 3 weeks. We go into production this week, actually. So no, to answer your question, absolutely, podcasting would be amazing. Pick your passion. Pick something that you could talk about for days without taking a breath. Like that's one sign that that your podcast will work. If you run out of content after, I don't know, two or three episodes, then you may not have enough there. That's why you bring people onto your show. So if you have a passion about gardening, start a gardening podcast, and then reach out to other people in your community that love gardening. Like, research that hashtag on Instagram, research that hashtag on Facebook, interact with people around that, and then invite some of them onto your gardening podcast. It is a great way to build your audience, to build your brand, and to build your community, which is ultimately what we want to do. Does that answer your question?
That question was from Arlena, and she had a lot of other comments as well. You can read through those through the chat.
All right, sounds good.
Arlena, for that question. Dana had a question as well.
Yep.
Should your personal? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Should your personal and business brand be the same? Very, very awesome question, Dana. So I could go either way on this. So depending on the stage of your business, so if your business is more in the infancy stage right now, I would absolutely focus on building your personal brand first and foremost, because what's beautiful about personal brand is it follows you. So you may be running a certain company, or you may be an employee in a company doing something right now. You continue to build your personal brand around the things you're passionate about, things that you enjoy doing, all the things that make you you. And then let's say you quit your job, or you leave, or you close your business, you start something else entirely. That entire group of people follows you. They follow your entire journey. And guess what? Then you can start documenting a whole new journey. So it's pretty awesome. The business brand is absolutely important. That takes a lot more time, a lot more energy, a lot more effort. You can do it on your own, like if you have the bandwidth and you're able to pull that off. But that's when you want to really invest in, like, what is the look and feel? What's the vibe of my company? What I want my customers to feel when they're interacting with my website, or if I have a brick and mortar location, what does that feel like? I would absolutely take a look at that. So I hope that answered your question. If it didn't, please fire back on the chat, and I'm happy to go into that more. Let me look and see what other comments we have. And if you have any other questions, please go ahead and just drop them in. Our website still as important as they used to be, considering all this? Oh my gosh, yes. So websites are still absolutely important. There's a variety of reasons why websites are still important for your business. They are more important for certain businesses than some others. Like some other businesses maybe do strictly, and I'm trying to think of an example. I know what you're talking about, but websites are so important because you can direct traffic there. You can collect, information from people through forms. It gives them just one more place to interact with you. Think about it this way. Maybe this is a better way of phrasing this. You want your customer experience to be as frictionless as possible. You want to remove every imaginable obstacle possible for your customer to interact with you. You want that process to be as seamless and as smooth as you possibly can. So a website, some people are going to look for your website. If you don't have a website, they may think that you're really not that legit. You're not really not that pro. That may or may not even be true. But it's certainly something that I would strongly consider, even if it's just a billboard, a simple one-page website talking about your company, some really cool photos, a call to action, something that they can do to get started is better than nothing. So difference between personal and business brand. It's very simple. What is the reputation? Think of it that way. You can replace the word brand with reputation. So that is simply the difference. So like if I'm Steve Jobs has a certain reputation and Apple has a certain reputation. And over the years, Steve Jobs had a distinct personal brand. Whether or not he intentionally built that brand, that was his brand. That was what he was known by, as being this, this guy who just was in love with technology. He was a little bit short and terse at times, very difficult to work with, but with love and value and idea from anybody. Didn't care where you were in the Apple organization. He was on the hunt for ideas. And so that is an example of personal brand versus company brand being, we'll just use the same example, right? So Apple having that look and feel, that experience that you encounter from the time that you get your phone, or you got to go get your MacBook fixed, or you go buy something in the store. That entire experience is what makes up that brand. Let's see what else. I really appreciate the questions, guys. Like this is what makes this fun. So, are there any business specific questions that you may have for your specific, like, are there any specific issues or problems? Because now that the governor is loosening up the rules, and I know Dallas County, things are changing there. I don't recall the exact date that thing, and I don't know how that's going to nest with the governor. All right, I'll come back to that point in a second. Email marketing still effective? Absolutely, email marketing is 100% effective. It may sound a little old school, but there is still tremendous value. If you are adding value in the email, don't spam me. Add value to my inbox. Make it something that I want to click and open. Make it something that is engaging, that makes my life better. When I see an email from you, I'm thinking, oh, thank God that's here. Like that's something I look forward to. I'm exaggerating slightly, but that's the mindset you need to have when you're crafting your email marketing campaign. It is absolutely a great tool, and it's an awesome database for your customer. It's a great way to communicate. What is the best way to market a subscription-based service via social media? Subscription-based. Are we talking like SaaS products, software as a service? Are we talking like what exactly are we talking about? And Deanna, we may just want to set up a call at some point just to talk. But if we're talking SaaS products, so like the way that you market any product or service is that you're solving a pain problem for your customer. You are understanding, you're presenting a solution to a problem. It's not about how awesome you are, and that's the number one mistake I see brands make all the time. They talk about how awesome we are, the best software company in the world. We are the best, whatever it may be. That is important, and I want you to still tell that story, but not at the top. Tell it a little bit further down. You want to solve the pain here at the top of the website, and then tell that story. And then at the bottom, or below the fold is a web design term, but like the above the fold content, which is like what happens when you land on a screen, that needs to be, here's your pain point, here's the prescription. And then you go down and like, okay, here's my MD credentials from Johns Hopkins University. Like think of it like that. And so people are going to check you out. They want to understand, okay, is this guy credible? Is he legit? And so that's when case studies, testimonials are huge. We're working on a very big testimonial campaign for one of my clients. We're actually going around and videoing their clients if they don't want to do it themselves. And we're putting together a whole train of like testimonial videos that we're going to drip on social media across all channels, because it's one thing for me to sell what it is I do. It's another thing for my customer to sell it for me. If my customer sells it for me, you're more likely to trust and actually believe that. One, because it's true, but two, it's a very helpful thing to do. So I hope that answers your question, Dana. If not, in fact, I'll move to this screen so you guys can reach it. And I didn't even put my email on here, which is hilarious, but it's simply Aaron@boldmedia. In fact, I'll drop it in the chat right now. So if any of you have any questions at all, please reach out to me. I live on social media all the time, as you can imagine, when I'm not at meetings or dealing with my clients. But connect with me on social media. Reach out to me if you have any other questions. And are there any other things that I can help answer for you right now?
I have a question for you, Aaron.
Yes, sir. Please.
So my church is actually going through a merger with a different church.
Wow.
And so this has been going on for about 3 months now, and we're closing on everything on May the 1st. So my question is, what is the best way to connect with this new congregation and kind of integrate these two churches into one? What are the correct steps as far as like social media? Should we be making like a personal video posts and testimonial posts as well?
Yeah, man. In the church world, I'm a fellow Christ follower myself, so I can appreciate the things that you're going through. I have not personally been on that end of a church merger, but I've been in ministry for a number of years as well, and so I understand a little bit of the drama associated to that.
For sure.
a lot of the nitty gritty behind the scenes. So, and again, are you the senior pastor or?
Oh no, I'm just the worship pastor.
Got it. Oh,
yep.
Just the worship pastor. Come on, dude. You're awesome. You're awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. No, I mean that is going to be an initiative. To be completely honest with you, like advise the senior pastor on that. Like transparency is going to be very, very important right now. People, the congregations both are going to be a little concerned depending on how it's been presented to them. Like, okay, so guys, this is a great example between like we can apply this not just to church but just the corporate world as well. Like if you merged companies. So I'm giving Alex a very contextual answer to his question that I am going to answer, but I also want you guys to not get lost in the points here, that you can still overlay this and apply this to any other business situation generally. But to go a little bit deeper with you, Alex, the way to do that honestly is going to be to win at this is going to be transparency. It's going to be communication, very, very strong communication, reassurance. People want to know what's going on. They're going to have questions. Anticipate those questions and answer them before they get the chance to ask them. And so I would strongly encourage to engage with those people. I'm sure the pastoral staff has a whole strategy on how they want to do that.
Yeah.
But I would absolutely, I mean, I can't say it enough, but just being, and the church should know this, but being genuine and authentic, relatable, something is like building trust, right? Like you got to be in the trust building mindset. So how do I reinforce and build trust in this situation? Well, I can reinforce and build trust by explaining to them like, hey guys, we don't have it all figured out. Or, hey, here's one thing we do have figured out. And so there's a lot of different things that you do. And I hope I'm giving you a decent answer. If not, I'm happy to go more.
Yeah, for sure. I think one thing that just came across my mind is that we should probably be making more probing questions, formatted posts. So something that'll stimulate people to respond and be open and transparent themselves as well, so that we can connect better with them.
Well, I mean, has the general vibe of this whole thing, as it's gone down, has it been positive or has it been negative?
You know what? It's mostly been positive, especially for the church that we're merging with. So I think that's a good thing.
Reinforce the excitement. Reinforce the fact that our best days are in front of us, they're not behind us. Reinforce that you are valuable. We want to connect with you. We want you to engage. We want you to serve. We want you to lead. We want to continue to grow our community. We want to continue to invest in our community and make an impact. And so, yeah, I mean, if it's a positive change, which I'm glad to hear it is, not all of them are, but if but if it's a positive change, man, you've got to tell that story. People are going to wonder what's going on. What's the real story? Like, what's the real deal behind this?
Yeah.
As transparent as you can make it. And I know there's probably some sensitive, discussions that probably can't be public, but as public as you can possibly go, I would be as open as you can and engaging and positive and just continue that.
For sure. Thanks, Aaron.
Absolutely, man. Who else? Make sure I answered all these questions before we peace out. Let's see. Because I did not check. Texting works with texting is always good. Dana, I don't know if you're still here, Dana, but texting absolutely works. Maybe I'm a little old school, but I'm telling you, nothing works better than a personal phone call to connect with somebody. Don't be afraid of the phone. Pick up the phone, call. The worst they can do is cuss you out, right? I mean, it's just pick up the phone and call. And if it doesn't go well, or you can't get a hold of them, then yeah, follow up with a text. That is totally fine. So I don't see any other questions. Michael or Laura, I don't know what you would like to do now.
Oh, I think that about wraps it up. We're getting close to the top of the hour, and
Cool.
and I think we've addressed everybody's questions. And Aaron, thank you for that great information today. Based on the feedback, it looks like everyone really enjoyed what you had to say, and some folks learned some great lessons. And we appreciate your time.
Absolutely, it was a sincere pleasure. Thanks for having me. It was awesome getting connected with all of you. And again, please connect with me if you have any other questions. You have my email there in the chat, and I look forward to continuing our conversation together. So thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody, for coming. Y'all have a great Wednesday.
You
Bye,
too.
y'all.
Thank you.
Hey, Aaron, I'll call you and schedule the luncheon.
Okay.